Welcome once again to Musings by Danon. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Danon. I'm currently reading over 600 manga and light novels with close to 300 additional series that I've completed. And, added to the list of completed manga earlier this month was my favorite romance series, My Dress-Up Darling. That's right, dear viewer. After 7 years, one of the best romance series ever written has finally come to an end. Real quick, and I know it's annoying to keep hearing this, but statistically, if I don't ask you to like and subscribe, the video gets fewer subscribers. Oh, one more quick announcement before we get started. I'm streaming over on Gaming with Danon as well as Twitch. YouTube likes it when a channel's videos are all narrowly focused, so we'll only be doing manga, anime, and light novel content on this channel. I'll mostly be streaming Final Fantasy XIV with Cute Stuff and our son, but you're more than welcome to pop in and talk about manga. Honestly, about half my streams are talking about manga, anime, or even cooking. Now, I know I didn't do a video on Chapter 114 last month. I felt there wasn't enough meat in that chapter to warrant a video of its own, so I figured we'd wait until this chapter came out before we did a video on it. So without further ado, let's discuss the last 2 chapters of My Dress-Up Darling. Chapter 114 is a callback to Chapter 23. Marin suddenly comes up to Wakana after their tests are done and says we need to go to the beach. Wakana is confused, but this time, the friends are also confused. But what else are the differences this time? Well, they took a train, got lunch, set out a blanket, and sat down to eat. In Chapter 23, Wakana was very confused the entire time, but in Chapter 114, he's gotten used to Marin's shenanigans. But that's not the biggest difference. Remember, Chapter 23 happened just a few chapters after Marin realized her feelings for Wakana. The scene right here, with the epic blush, Chapter 14, so not that long ago. Now, going back to Chapter 23, Wakana tells Marin that this is his first time at the sea. You see, even as a kid, Wakana only had eyes for Hina dolls. He never visited the sea or did anything else, really. But recently, Grandpa told him he needs to do lots of stuff. The more he experiences, the more he can incorporate into his art. In fact, even helping Marin with her cosplay has improved his painting skills. And Grandpa was right. Experiencing the sea is vastly different than just watching it on TV. Wakana is transfixed, which, if you've never seen the sea, you don't understand. The call of the ocean, the crashing waves, the smell, and how the horizon seems to go on forever. And this moment right here was incredibly brave for Marin, and I'm so proud of her. She suggests they go together. Let's go to all kinds of places. Just the two of us. Wakana is so happy to hear that. He finally has a friend that he can do stuff with. Marin, overwhelmed by emotion, runs back to their stuff to not only get a drink, but also to hide her furious blush. Picks up her phone and secretly takes a picture of Wakana. She's trying to capture a moment that she's not sure will ever come again. But on their second beach trip, she doesn't have to hide it. Marin and Wakana sit and eat together, and Marin loves her food so much that she just has to share it with her guy. They lay back and discuss how beautiful the day is. Of course, Marin regrets leaving her camera behind, so she'll have to use her phone. Wakana gently reminds her that it was due to her impulsive nature. So Marin runs off to collect seashells to form a heart, a totally cute, beachy photo idea. Wakana is reminded of their last trip. He's also reminded of how they first met and how Marin seemed an entire world away. And this is the part that shows his growth. Before, he would have kept his mouth shut and his thoughts to himself. But this time, he tells her what he's thinking. A year ago, he thought that the two of them lived in different worlds, and being here with her as her boyfriend feels strange. Marin says they were never worlds apart. What is he even talking about? We've been living in the same world the whole time. If you think about it, she's right. Wakana is a Hina doll otaku. In fact, if we're going off the official definition of otaku, someone obsessed with a single thing, Wakana is a bigger otaku than Marin. Marin has a variety of interests. Sure, she's more into anime, manga, and gaming than Wakana is, but her tastes are diverse. Eroge, slice of life, magical girls, shoujo, fighting games, you name it, she's tried it. Remember, she's got like 50 number ones. But Wakana only has one thing he's obsessed with: Hina dolls. Though you could say that now he has two things: Hina dolls and Marin. Going back to the chapter, we've got another reference to chapter 23. Marin reminds Wakana that he said there are lots of places he's never been to. Well, neither has she. And there are tons of things she's never done. She's never been to Okinawa or Hokkaido. She's never climbed a mountain, though that would be rough to do in Gyaru nails. There's all kinds of food she hasn't eaten before. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a list. Write down all the places we want to go and the things we want to do, and do them together. Wakana agrees, but warns her that could take a lifetime to get through them all. Which is just fine with Marin. Spending the rest of her life doing fun things with the man she loves sounds perfect. Now, some would call this a flag. Saying you want to spend the rest of your life with someone doing a bunch of exciting things together? That's just asking for a bad ending. But this ain't that kind of story. How do we know? Because there's only one more chapter to go. Chapter 115 starts out quietly. The beautiful street lamp with a Hina doll on it. A quiet street with more parked cars than moving ones. The outside of Gojo dolls. And a staircase leading to a side room. That side room has been turned into a photography studio with a massive white backdrop, a mirror, some professional-grade lighting, totes, and props. And costumes. Tons and tons of costumes. Shelves lined with binders, each full of patterns and notes on cosplay. There are also a pair of kimonos, some makeup, bottles of perfume on a shelf with photos. And in a heart-shaped frame next to sticks of incense, as if it were a shrine, a photo of Grandpa Gojo. This one shook me when I first saw it, but don't worry, dear viewer. A couple pages later and we realized that Fukuda-sensei was trolling us. They do that from time to time. And there are photos of Marin and Wakana getting married. Told you we'd have a happy ending. And doesn't Marin look adorable in her uchikake? We also see someone is calling for Wakana. He comes into the room and sees that it's Grandpa, alive and well. We also see that Wakana is still wearing his samue. It's nice to see that even after getting married, Wakana is still Wakana. Grandpa called for Wakana because there is a news segment about him starting soon. Wakana was working on dinner, miso and steamed clams. Grandpa lets Wakana know that Masumi-san, Marin's father, will be picking up sushi on the way over. And since Wakana's father-in-law likes drinking, he figures he should set out the extra futon for him. Marin makes it home just in time, and she's looking lovelier than ever. Ever fashionable John Lennon glasses, subdued makeup, a sensible but elegant outfit, and reasonable nails rather than Gyaru nails all show that she has changed, at least a little. She's still Marin, just not as extravagant as she used to be. Marin was worried she'd be late. The photo shoot just kept going and going. And even though she'd set up the recorder last night, she wanted to watch it live. After all, the news report is about the Hina dolls that Wakana, her beloved husband, made. Marin and Wakana discussed the picture that Miori, Wakana's cousin, sent. Marin's new ad went up today. Marin is pretty sure that Miori's kids have no idea who the woman in the picture was. Gramps is clearly excited to see the program all about his grandson, and Marin is beside herself with excitement. But Wakana is nervous. And I noticed something here. Sorry if this turns into a tangent. One of the things that makes My Dress-Up Darling such a great romance, and I'm sure you'll notice this same trend in many other great romance manga, is because it's about how opposites attract. But as our characters get to know each other, and as we the audience get to know them, we realize they aren't that different after all. Both of them are scared. Marin was scared to death to tell Wakana her feelings, and Wakana was scared to let others find out about his love of Hina dolls. But at the same time, each of them become the other's greatest supporter. Wakana is nervous about becoming a Karashi, a Hina doll creator, while Marin is nervous about cosplay. Look at the fear in her eyes when she first tried on the Suzuki-tan outfit. Was I able to become Suzuki-tan? But when Wakana tells her she's a splendid Suzuki-tan, Marin lights up. Not with pride, but with admiration for the work Wakana did. Everything about the outfit is just perfect, especially the breast pocket. Even now, she's still his biggest fan. When Wakana is so nervous about the news segment featuring him and his Hina dolls, he starts to walk away, but Marin stops him. Sorry, Wakana, you're not allowed to get embarrassed now. But she does hold his hand to comfort him. Wakana tries to say something, but Marin interrupts him. She reminds him about how he once told her that his dream was to make Hina dolls that anyone could tell, at just a glance, that Wakana was the one who made them. Well, you did it. You've been working so hard for so long, and now your work is finally recognized. So let's watch it together. Wakana agrees. After all, he's never been able to tell Marin no. And who could after all that wonderful encouragement? The news article is about the Peach Festival, the annual Hina doll event. This year, a new type of doll took fans by storm. It was the talk of the festival. Of course, we're talking about Gojo dolls. The interview with the Karashi of these Hina dolls, Wakana Gojo. Our chapter comes to an end with a beautifully drawn tray of chirari sushi, a celebratory dish with rice covered in a rainbow of ingredients. In this case, they've got sea urchin and eel in there. And the last page of the manga shows a happy family. Wakana's grandfather, Marin's dad, Marin and Wakana all sitting around discussing Wakana's sudden fame. And once again, we're reminded of how similar Marin and her father are. Well, it's finally over. Yes, I shed some tears when the series was finished, but as Vision said,
but a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts.
Yes, we're all sad that My Dress-Up Darling has come to an end. But I'd much rather have a series end than get dragged on in perpetuity. Those that remember think about how bad Bleach was after the author was forced to stretch the series over 600 chapters. And modern readers, how many of you have dropped Rent-A-Girlfriend? I mean, Kazuya just had a test date with Mini in order to prepare for his date with Chizuru? That was 13 chapters. That's an entire volume of the main character freaking out about a date and testing the environment. Talk about an author not being able to let his girl go. Meanwhile, Fukuda-sensei masterfully wrapped up this story. Now, I know there are some nitpickers who are upset that not every single story thread got wrapped up in a neat little bow, but let Professor Danon teach you something. Real life doesn't get wrapped up in a bow. By tying off every single story thread, you don't just end the story, you put it in the grave. Because there are still dangling story bits, the author is allowing your mind to finish the series. The characters are living on in your head. Their story hasn't concluded, even though the manga has. And whatever you imagine happening is canon to you. That's why great stories don't always wrap up every single detail. Bad ones do, though. Looking at you, Harry Potter. Of course, I'm excited to see the anime coming out this summer. No idea if it's a single core or a double, but there's no way we're getting the last 76 chapters adapted into a single core. If they do 2 core, we could get everything. Remember, Season 1 adapted 39 chapters with very little cut. I doubt we'll be that lucky, though, so don't get your hopes up. Now, many of you are wondering what to read next. You want something with a similar vein. Something heartwarming and a little horny. Not too horny, just enough to remind you that humans are sexual creatures with needs. Well, most of us anyway. I've got 3 for you, and 2 of them are available in English through official channels, so I'll have links down below. Waka Takase is the author for 2 of these series, and the art for both of these series have a similar vibe to My Dress-Up Darling. The first series is The Cutest Girl Closest to Me, or My Older Sister's Friend. It's about a boy who has a crush on his big sister's best friend ever since he met her in elementary school. She's now in college, and he's now in high school, and he still won't look at other girls. Of course, she also has feelings for him, but she's afraid of ruining what they have. Sound familiar? She also doesn't think he views her that way. After all, she's his big sister's friend. She's practically family. Now, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this series because it is the one that doesn't have an official release yet, but Takase's other series does have an official release coming out next month. Mi-chan wants to be kept as about a person with no life. Iori is the assistant manager at a grocery store who handles basically everything. He works and then goes home and sleeps. The only joy he gets in his life is cats. Sometimes strays will come up to him for pets, but they never want to come home with him. Until one day, a stray not only wants to come home with him, she sleeps in the same bed with him. But when he wakes up, the cat is gone, replaced by a naked girl. As it turns out, there are people who change into cats. Every day, Mi-chan is a girl. The fun part about this series is that her personality doesn't really change. She still wants pets, wants to be fed, and wants to play, regardless of if she's a cat or a person. Volume 1 officially releases on April 15th. Now, I recommended the previous two because they are manga with art styles similar to my Dress Up Darling. But if you want one that, in my opinion, is the spiritual successor to our beloved romance about a doll falling in love with her dressmaker, you should check out Now That We Draw. Volume 1 is already out. No word on Volume 2 yet, but I assume we'll get notified soon. First of all, we've got an adorable, outgoing Gyaru who is secretly an otaku. Sound familiar? Secondly, we've got an awkward, shy introvert who is also an otaku, but everyone who looks at him can guess that. He wants to write romance manga, but was rejected by an editor due to the story being unrealistic. You see, one of the rules of writing is to write what you know. Obviously, Urihara Yuki has no experience with romance because he's never dated anyone. He has no idea what it's like to fall in love with a real girl. Enter our real girl, the Gyaru, Miyamoto Nina. She finds his manga and reads it. So since she saw his, she should show him hers, right? Miyamoto hands over her tablet and he reads her shoujo romance. She was also rejected for the same reasons. Despite looking flashy, Miyamoto has no experience in love. So she decides that the two of them should date. Not for real, but pretend. Do all the things that lovers do, like holding hands. Now, some of you may not like the art style, and that's fine. A lot of the art is very stylized and over the top. But then you get to a scene like this and you realize why I'm recommending it. The series is beautiful, and watching this pair of idiots follow their dreams will give you shonen vibes, but the series is a seinen. More grounded storytelling with realistic characters. Also, when I say idiots, I mean there's a scene later on. They both fail a test and have to retake it because they were up all night working on manga instead of studying. In summary, there are always more manga to read. Maybe they won't be as good as My Dress Up Darling, but you gotta get out there and find one that sings to you. Maybe some of you already have. Leave a comment down below with recommendations for other series so that we can all get more recommendations. Thank you in advance. And thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cutestuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, she can be reached at cutestuff.edits@gmail.com. Link is down below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. There are several tiers to choose from. You can pick an anime or manga for me to do a video about, or you can join our monthly manga club. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons. Waffles, Jiraiya, Muffins, Marcus, Brett, Roxy, Alix, Borgi, Nasman, Conga, Chris, Robert, Pi, Kazaris, Buxu, Patrick, Tiz, Art, Richard, Sint, Boomy, Jackie, Finn, Zen, Asura, Justin, Christian, and Golden Walker. You guys are awesome. I post new anime or manga videos often, or you can click here to watch additional videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Musings by Danon.